Looking for music that lifts your spirit and fills your heart? Experience the powerful sound of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square. Now streaming on all your favorite music platforms. Find the Tabernacle Choir on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Pandora. Let the music of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square inspire you today and every day. Whether you're at home, in the car, or on the go, enjoy the beauty of their world-renowned sound anytime. The Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, streaming now. It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. How is that for a night of playoff action? My gosh, what happened, Atlanta? Quinn Snyder, what happened? They were down 72-22. a 50-point lead in the second quarter for the Knicks. And no, they didn't blow it. Insert your Knicks joke here. No, the Knicks win the game. They win the series in 6. They're moving on to the second round, and they're going to get either Boston or Philly, but they're going to get a little time off first because Philly won and forced Boston to a Game 7. Now, what's more stunning, that Philly won again or that the Knicks were up by 50? Knicks by 50. I have seen 8s and 7s upset 1s and 2s, and I'm surprised Philly's doing this. Embiid is back. He had another really good game, so it makes it a little less surprising. I think Boston should come out of the East, so that it's definitely a surprise. But I've seen playoff upsets. I've been wrong. I've seen series go 7 that I thought would be over in 4 or 5. I picked the wrong team before. I've never seen a 50-point game. Knicks win by 51, but it was 50 in the second quarter. Unreal. The other playoff game, Minnesota, missing 3 players who scored double figures, beats Denver 110-98. Denver under 100 points again. Rudy Gobert's defense still matters, at least in this point in the playoffs. I don't see how Minnesota or the winner of that Houston-LA series, they got Game 6 in Houston tonight, I don't see how they're going to beat Oklahoma City and San Antonio. I've thought all year it was going to be the Thunder and Spurs in the conference final. I've never been more sure than right now because the injuries just keep adding up. And it's not that the Thunder and Spurs have been perfectly healthy, because they haven't been, but they're healthier and they're better. So there's that. And Edmonton is out. Anaheim beats Edmonton 5-2. Anaheim now waiting for the winner of the Vegas-Utah series. And the key in this series is, it's really a lot of what the Mammoth are facing. The Oilers couldn't keep the puck out of the net. When they held Anaheim to 1 and 3 goals, they won both games. The other games where they give up 4 goals or more, 22 goals in 4 losses. So it's more than 5 goals a game. Yeah, that's not going to get it done. That's not going to come close to getting it done. Anaheim wins the game 5-2. Anaheim wins the series 4-2. You got to keep the puck out of the net. The Grizzlies have won the 2 games when they held Vegas under 4 goals. When Vegas gets 4 or more goals, they're 3-0. Stop giving up goals. Defense wins championships. Defense wins playoff games. It's pretty straightforward looking at both these series. Also, Minnesota knocked out Dallas. Won the game 5-2. There's the goals thing again. And Minnesota wins the series 4-2. All right, so that's a lot of what is going on in basketball. I don't know, man. The Sixers, are they about to go on some improbable playoff run? It's hard to believe. I can't believe Embiid's healthy unless he walks out there every game and he's, actually healthy and ready to go. There's just been so many disappointments with him. So, all right, DJ and PK, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little hockey and a little college football. They've really been the 2 stories of the week. Coming up next, Greg Wyshynski joins us. He's hilarious. We had him on yesterday's show. Senior writer for ESPN covering the NHL. He's from Jersey, so he and PK have some fun with that. He's absolutely got a sense of humor, and he's got a lot of hot takes on Vegas and Utah. That's next. Stay with us.
This is Mike Bolo of Lexicon Valley.
And I'm Bob Garfield. Are you one of those people who sometimes uses words?
Do you communicate or acquire information with, language?
Hey, Us too. So join us on Lexicon Valley to chew over the history, culture, and many mysteries of English, plus some wisecracks.
Find us on one of those apps where people listen to podcasts.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Greg Wyshynski joined us in the 8 o'clock hour yesterday's show. So for your early risers who love the playoffs, love the Mammoth, wondering what's going to happen in Game 6, will there be a Game 7? Senior writer for ESPN, Greg Wyshynski, joined us. Now, obviously, he joined us yesterday, so some of the time references are off. He doesn't know Anaheim's going to knock out Edmonton, but they did. Anaheim won 5-2 the game, and they win the series 4-2. So it's now Anaheim waiting for the winner of Utah and Vegas. Here's Greg Wyshynski with PK and I on the Zone. Greg, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I just drove back last night from Philadelphia, and I mentioned that because the Flyers are an inexperienced playoff team that had to learn how to close out their opponents.
Nice.
I don't know if that's relevant to the Mammoth.
I see where you're going.
But I think you do know, Greg. That's why you couldn't wait to blurt that out.
Yeah,
They've had the lead in the third period of every game, and yet they trail 3 games to 2. So I guess the first question is, in the East Coast, are people even staying up and watching this? I mean, games are ending at midnight here, so it's 2 a.m. there. How much are people even aware on that side of the country of what's going on over here?
Well, I can say as a guy who likes to have a beer after a game, I've definitely watched at least one of these games in the lobby of a Marriott. I don't know how many people are staying up to watch, but I think if they aren't, then they're missing one of the most entertaining series in the league right now. Not only because of the speed and the enthusiasm with which the Mammoth play, but also just seeing this cagey veteran Golden Knights team refusing to go down quietly against an opponent that's definitely an upstart. I think it's been one of the more compelling series. It's certainly been one of the more dramatic series based on what we've seen in the last 2 games with the overtimes. So I'm hoping my friends on the East Coast have decided to brew a little espresso at like 11 at night to stay up for these games because they've been awesome.
Well, Greg, you're on the DJ and PK show, and I'm the PK version of it, and you don't know this, but you're about to know it. You're one of my brothers because you're a Monmouth County guy. I was born in Essex and raised in Morris, so it's good to have you on, brother.
That is beautiful. Central, for those who don't know, there's a lot of controversies in New Jersey. One of them is, does central New Jersey exist? The people in the north believe that it is all south below them. The people in the south believe it is all north above them. The people who grew up in Monmouth County, New Jersey, know that there's a beautiful band of the most beautiful, smartest people in New Jersey called Central New Jersey, and that's where we're from.
Yeah, Central always gets it because you got Princeton in there and whatnot. It always is and Trenton. It is the smartest of the 3 distinct areas, the 3 divisions that we have in that state. So I've been telling some of my cousins, you got to watch this Mammoth team. Was texting last night. It is on late, but, it's fun. It's fun for us to have something. The Jazz obviously have not been in the position to be a playoff team. We'll see what they do next year. And so now we've been able to focus on this in only the second year, and it's really cool. And I think that one of the things I was going to use the very word you said, upstart, and I think that's exactly what the Mammoth are. And I just think that Vegas right now is a sliver better, probably going to win the series, maybe even win it 4-3. And if you go big picture, some progress is made for the Mammoth. I think you would agree.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see about the result. I'll get to that in a second. But, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is the kind of season you have to have when you're a team on the rise as a contender. And, I mean, the excitement is to see what Dylan Guenther does in the playoffs, to see Logan Cooley making plays, to see, a lot of these players kind of elevate their games to the right time. And to know that it's just the beginning, to know that, Ryan and Ashley Smith are obviously, I've already shown a propensity for wanting to spend and make this team even better. And I think Bill Armstrong has shown slowly but surely a propensity for dealing away maybe some of those some of those assets that he's built over the last several seasons to improve the roster. But then again, on the same note, and I've talked to Bill about this myself. There's an entire pipeline of players we haven't even seen yet come up with the Mammoth, and that could easily be the next wave that really pushes this team to cup contention. But I don't know. It's 2 overtime games. It's a hard education about how to close out an opponent. I don't think they're done. I will say that they need more from Vejmelka, if I'm being honest with you. I think if you look at the underlying numbers in the last 2 games, he's been in the negative insofar as goals saved above expected. The bad news for the Mammoth is that Carter Hart had his best game of the series, I thought, last night. So if the goaltending is all of a sudden trending in the Golden Knights' direction, where I think that was clearly their Achilles heel, that might be bad news for Utah.
Okay, he had 2 face saves, so there's an expression in soccer, he knew nothing about it. You make the right play, but you're lucky you made the right play. He knew nothing about it. I think when you're making face saves, you knew nothing about it. Did he catch some breaks there, or he really is getting dialed in, and that's the way it goes when you're red hot, so that's part of the deal.
You got to put your face in the right spot to get hit. I mean, that's the key, right? So,
okay,
sure. I mean, listen,
I've done that in fights many times.
Yeah, there's an incredible amount of luck to be a good goaltender in this league and to have a winning performance in this league. But there is something to be said. I mean, on the I believe it was the game tying goal last night, there was a whole debate on television about whether Vejmelka slid too far in trying to stop the one timer from Eichel and this whole thing. And so, it is, as they say, a game of inches, and sometimes a little mistake here or there from a goalie can add up to being a big problem for your team. Again, it's not to say that Carroll's played poorly. I mean, obviously, Vejmelka's, I think, one of the big reasons why they're in the position that they're in right now in this series. But I thought the last 2 games could have been a little bit better, and obviously the results sort of dictate that.
Statistics stink on the power play for the Mammoth, and obviously that came back to bite them in a Game 5 big time. What can they do, what do you think, to be able to be better in that situation, those situations?
Yeah, I mean, power plays are a tricky thing in the postseason. You get into a bit of a rut, and then things kind of snowball a little bit. I mean, they are going up against a Vegas Golden Knights team that was tied for 6th in the NHL in penalty kill during the regular season. So it's not as if they're playing a team that doesn't know how to kill a penalty, and they certainly have some veteran guys that have done this before in the playoffs. But I think overall you don't want to be overly reliant on your power play anyway in the playoffs. I think the playoffs are won at 5-on-5. But clearly, at this point, we could say that you'd like to have them get a little bit more out of it. Still clicking, pretty well in the penalty kill, but to have a power play that's only clicking at 7% in the playoffs is pretty embarrassing at this point.
They've been giving up late goals, big goals, momentum-changing goals right before they go into the locker room, before the intermission. And when they try to find a common thread, it seems like they're giving away the puck in some really bad places on the ice. Vejmelka on the 3rd goal, on the boards behind the goal, he seemed really indecisive. Where was he going with that? Sergachev had a pass back he once earlier in the series. When you look at the issues they're having defensively, because the games they won, they give up 2 goals. When they give up 4 goals or more, they're 0-3 in this series. And if they're going to give up fewer goals, it seems it comes down to the decisions they make when they have the puck are leading directly to goals.
Yeah, and also the Golden Knights are a team that's pretty adept at forcing the issue when it comes to turnovers. I mean, I think when you look at Mark Stone, Jack Eichel, and Mitch Marner, to name 3 guys, these are some of the best two-way players in the league at forward position, 200-foot players, as they say. So they're a team that preys on those mistakes, and that's why you can't make them. But, it kind of goes back to the beginning of our conversation. I mean, if there's one common theme in the first round of these Stanley Cup playoffs, it's inexperienced teams trying to figure out how to close out their opponents. And part of that is knowing how to manage the puck. Part of that is not making the wrong decision. Part of that is not squeezing your stick at the wrong time. And we've seen Philly, allow the Penguins to come back in the series before they closed it out. We've seen Buffalo struggle to close out Boston. We've seen the Ducks blow an opportunity to close out Connor McDavid and the Oilers. Like on and on and on, these young teams that don't have the playoff experience quite yet are finding out what it takes to win these games. And ultimately, like you said, whether it's this playoff or future playoffs, this is going to be all beneficial to the Mammoth and their young stars. But hopefully in the short term, what's happened in the last couple of games can kind of set them on the right course to still win this series.
Yeah, so we'll, as you brought up with the Philly situation, we'll monitor that and sort of look to them. You know, we did it with these situations, small market teams in the NBA, a little bit different, but, you know, we follow them and how they've built Oklahoma City, and the Jazz are trying to do that. And so will you bringing up Philly, I think, is an idea for us and our fan base and our listener audience to see what they can do and see if that can be replicated here locally. And then I saw you sort of did a big picture thing on Pittsburgh, and I looked at it, and then I went on to X, I guess they call it now, Twitter, and I wanted to get your comment on this. You probably saw this. Penguins Jesus. Greg, I don't say this enough. Penguin fans don't really like you. Never have, never will. We have all of the receipts.
Penguins fans, you know, it's a first of all, it was a joy to cover the Battle of Pennsylvania because, like, you talk about, you know, some great playoff atmospheres. Obviously, we've seen them at Delta Center. We saw them in Buffalo. That Game 3 between the Flyers and the Penguins, where they're chanting derogatory chants in Philadelphia about Sidney Crosby an hour before the puck drops, is just like, that's playoff hockey right there. That's a beautiful thing. But, you know, in covering the Penguins, I mean, you know, the overriding theme last night after the game was like, what's next? I mean, they clearly outkicked their coverage in making the playoffs this season. I don't think a lot of people had the Penguins making the playoffs. Hell, I talked to Sidney Crosby before the season, and he wasn't even sure they'd make the playoffs. But, you know, now you've got Crosby there through next season. You've got Letang there for the next couple of seasons. And you've got Evgeny Malkin, who's an unrestricted free agent this summer. And, you know, this trio, the names I just mentioned, have the North American pro sports record for the most games played together, most seasons rather played together as a trio. And you wonder whether or not maybe there's a chance that last night was the last time we'll see them as a trio. It's possible.
Right.
Bill Armstrong gets a lot of credit, and I think justifiably so, but I want your opinion on this. On the personnel moves he's made, it seems like there's a long string of wins. But our experience is that nobody bats 1,000. So first off, do you buy the premise? And then second off, what do you think of the Peterka Dome? Is that going to be something where maybe both teams think they win? Was that one that maybe as many good calls as he's made, he wants one back? What do you think?
I think that's a tough trade to analyze because I truly don't think that Peterka has been put in a position to excel on the Mammoth, if I'm being honest with you. Like, you look at the reductions in his ice time at 5-on-5. You look at what he was playing on the power play last year for Buffalo versus his power play time during the regular season for Utah. There's something going on there with the coach and Peterka that I think has kind of dulled the impact that he could have, because I think he's a really good player. I don't know if it's a situation where, you know, Andre's got his guys that he likes and he feels that Peterka was kind of foisted upon him because of this trade. I don't know what the situation is, but there's clearly some kind of malfunction in JJ's integration into this lineup. And so it's hard to really assess the deal. I know that there's definitely probably some people that are like, shoot, man, look what Josh Stone's doing with Buffalo. We can have that one back. But I'm really curious as to how this situation can maybe be rectified or how it plays out, because his first season in Utah was definitely a disappointment, not only from a statistical standpoint, and not only what he's not done in the playoffs, but in general, like what his role ended up being on the team.
You buy the premise about the rest of it, though, about Bill's putting together quite the record here? You buying that?
Insofar as like what he's built on this roster
with the draft picks.
Yeah, with the draft picks and the Sergachev acquisition, and the moves he's made as he builds this up from nowhere.
I think he's done real well. I mean, and there's obviously still room to improve. And that, they can take a look at how far they advance in these playoffs and get a better sense of what needs to be here. But when you in a salary capped league, the best way to try to build out your roster is from within. You don't want to be a team that has to be overly reliant on the trade deadline year after year to bring in guys that play certain roles. Like if you can find the cheap labor of young players and prospects to come up through your system and fill out your lineup, then you're doing it the right way. They all can't be the Florida Panthers who just were in like supermarket sweep and got all these guys from all over the place and ended up winning a couple cups. More likely you're going to be like the old Lightning teams that had a bunch of homegrown guys filling out your lineup. So I like the moves that Bill has made for the most part, but I really like the fact that he's kept his powder dry insofar as how many young players are still in the pipeline at almost every level, whether it's the NCAA or Canadian Junior or wherever. It seems like the Mammoth have prospects that are thriving.
You wonder, it becomes tricky, because they got rid of Doan in the trade, and we'll see how that plays out. I don't think you can judge it one single year, but certainly Josh's better days are ahead of him, and we'll see what happens coming back next year with the guy they got back. And how do you know when to go for it all or keep holding on to these things? I think that's tricky to be, no matter what position, a general manager, whatever their title is in whatever sport, to know what to do. And I think that's going to me, that's a fascinating story that could determine the level of success for this franchise. I think they're going to have success, but to what degree depends on what they do. How do you respond to that?
That is an amazingly good point. And I always think about one team in particular when that subject comes up, and that's the Los Angeles Kings. They won 2 Stanley Cups in the last decade. And that happened because they reached that inflection point of, we're really good. We have some really, really good young players, but we don't feel like we've got the guys that have the experience or maybe just the overall game to get us over the hump. So they end up trading a couple guys in Wayne Simmons and Braden Shen, 2 guys that have had incredible NHL careers since then, for Jeff Carter and Mike Richards from the Philadelphia Flyers. 2 really good players, but also 2 guys that have that sort of edge to them, that play that nasty bit of playoff hockey that you need. And so there was a boldness in that move, but ultimately the boldness resulted in them being able to win a couple of Stanley Cups. So you're absolutely right. Like, there will come a point where Bill will have to look at this roster and ownership will have to look at this roster and say, what is the piece that we're missing? What is the thing that gets us over the hump? Is it a guy that's won before? Is it a guy that just plays with a little bit of nastiness that we don't have? And they're going to have to figure out what pieces they want to deal for that player.
Was that an amazingly good point, or was that just one Jersey guy trying to make another Jersey guy look good? What?
No, man. Because again, like it comes to the problem with a lot of GMs in this league, and I don't know if it's hockey specific or not, but they fall in love with their guys too much. Yeah. And there's
that's an old story in sports. That's an old story in sports.
For sure. And like there's a term that we use in writing all the time when you've, and by you've I mean Neve, written like 5,000 words and you love them all, but you have to eventually kill your darlings, they say. And like, you got to get rid of some of those words because no one wants to read a 5,000 word story. So in hockey, it's the same way. It's like, you've got all these prospects, you've got all these picks. At some point, you're going to have to let some of them go to really improve your team. And then, why these guys get paid the big bucks is, did they trade the right prospects and did they acquire the right player to get a team like Utah over the hump?
Well, I spent 23 years in newspapers, so I understand what you're saying. And the good thing now is we don't have to worry about the jump as much because it's all online. And so that could lead to maybe the eyeballs carrying a little longer in the story. So we'll see what happens there. But before,
but now you got to worry about somebody you really want to stare at your phone for 5,000.
Oh yeah, words. There you go. Yeah, that's a phone versus a computer. That's another story. Yeah,
I would advise 3 1,700-word stories, and you link them, and then you get to tell your editor, "Yeah, I got one. I got another one for you tomorrow. I got one. It'll be posted tonight." And you just keep cranking them out.
I regret to inform you that my job is now taking the 5,000-word story and making a 90-second video about it. So
that's a true story right there.
I'll hit you up with one more Jersey question. You got 4 or 5 days off, right? And it's in July. You going to Ocean City, Maryland, or Ocean City, New Jersey?
Well, the first answer is I'm going to Mammoth Park Racetrack, where I was raised as a kid, basically, and where I had my first cigar. And
I've been there a time or two.
Yeah, man, it's a horse racetrack where they haven't had to put in slot machines, and like if you've got that, then you've got something beautiful. But yeah, I'm a Jersey Shore guy. I think Ocean City, New Jersey is beautiful.
Nice.
I mean, I grew up right near the Highlands, right near Point Pleasant. I mean, I was a Jersey Shore kid, so that's my experience. And I will say this to bring it to Jersey one more time. I covered the New Jersey Devils general manager Sonny Mehta, his press conference, and he referred to it as Taylor ham and not pork roll. It warmed my heart.
Well, that's North Jersey right there, man.
I know, that is New Jersey. That is the Great War in New Jersey. Is this really strange meat product. The Civil War in New Jersey is whether you call it pork roll or Taylor ham. I'm a Taylor ham kid.
Well, it depends on where you're from.
I got some. Yeah, it's all about where you're from, exactly. So I was heartened that me and the New Jersey Devils general manager are on the same page.
It's funny you say that. My wife asked me last night, "Do you want an English muffin for breakfast when I get home today?" And I said, "Only if I have tailored ham on it." No.
Yeah. It's really, I mean, it's a bizarre little meat product, but it's very Jersey. It's. He said something in his press conference that also really stuck with me, which is that, like, when you're from New Jersey, and you'll understand this, you don't refer to yourself as black or white or rich or poor or young or old. You're just from Jersey. Like, that's your identification in life, and I think you probably understand what I'm saying there.
I've never let it go, even though I'm living here in Utah, of all places.
Well, he's going to remember this interview for all the Jersey talk. I'm going to remember this interview because I'd never heard anyone say we've written, or I should say me've written.
I thought I was talking to listening to Carl Malone there for a second.
The contraction of me have. That is a brilliant move by you, Greg, and I will not forget it.
Yeah, the 5,000th word in that story was me've. So that's it. That's what got me over the hump.
English teachers everywhere are just getting a shiver down their spine now, and they don't know why. But it's because that was just thrown out into the universe. Greg, we appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on and talking hockey with us, and thanks for staying up till 2 a.m. to track the Mammoth.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thanks for having me, boys.
All right, there is Greg Wyshynski. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Chris Level joins us. He covers Texas Tech, sideline reporter and locked on Texas Tech. His take on the chaos at the quarterback position. 3 guys, got to figure at least 2 of them are going to play this year. It's a pretty crazy scenario. He's coming up next. Stay with us.
The Fall Line is a true crime podcast covering the coldest cases in the southeastern United States and occasionally beyond. We focus on the missing persons, the unsolved murders, and the unidentified does that don't get media attention. Empathetic and intensively researched, The Fall Line will take you on deep dives into unsolved cases that you've never heard of and make you wonder why you haven't. Find us wherever you listen to podcasts.
DJ and PK, we are joined now by Chris Level. And Chris has had a very busy 48 hours. He's a Texas Tech analyst, sideline reporter, and host of Locked On Texas Tech. Chris, is your head spinning after the last few days?
Well, I think what is it when you ask a question you already know the answer to? But yeah, definitely a lot going on here in West Texas for sure. But really, in the NCAA, I mean, this is it's a big story, and I guess it doesn't just involve Texas Tech or Brendan Sorsby. I mean, don't know about the whole Indiana and Cincinnati angles, and this is just a lot going on here for sure.
Yeah, did I hear something or read something that Cody Campbell wants to go after Cincinnati too?
That's somebody having fun at Cody's expense, poking fun at, I think, Cody, that suggesting that he was paying people to go after Cincinnati, but that's not true.
I didn't think it was. I thought it was just a joke, and it's just how crazy this story has mushroomed. And certainly for a day or two, it was like a lead national story. And, you wonder, it's a sad story for Brendan, and hopefully he can get that under control. Immediately old timers will start thinking of maybe an Art Schlichter situation that never panned out because of this, and it's serious. So it's something that needs to be taken seriously. As far as you wonder what level of what not necessarily widespread. But if he's doing it, it's probably not the only one who's doing it. And does the college game in general need to take a look at this, and even at the pro game, and how much they've gotten in bed with the gambling entities?
Yeah, because, I mean, I know I've said this on some of the platforms I've been on, that, Texas Tech has participated in football and basketball in this last calendar year at some of the Big 12 schools with the, arenas or stadiums that are, the naming rights are hotel and casinos.
Right.
It's just, this is the norm. Brendan clearly had an issue. I think he's seeking treatment for that. He's probably going to be the loser here in the whole thing, because it's really, it's going to hamper his stock as it relates to the NFL. I think a lot of what is going to come out or has come out, is something that the NFL folks would have eventually found out. But there's a bigger picture for him at stake. I mean, Texas Tech will be fine. I mean, they may not have as good of a team or offense this year, depending on what the status is going to be here. Because at the very minimum, he's going to miss time, and he may be done. We all understand that, but he's the one that and then with whatever Texas Tech was going to pay him, they may not have to pay any of that. We just don't know. But then it's the bigger picture of, he was a potential first-round draft pick, and now maybe not, just because of some of this off-the-field activity and like what's going on there, and why were you doing this? What else is there that we need to look into from a mental health standpoint? I mean, all the things, right? Because these are major investments for NFL franchises, and this was a major investment for Texas Tech. So, but yeah, hopefully we get more answers in the coming days. But the timing of this is very bizarre. We're talking about stuff that supposedly happened at Indiana 3 or 4 years ago. If the timing is right, he would have been underage. That leads to questions. I think that there is plenty of questions about how the NCAA, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not pretending to be, but how they acquired this data. Did they do this on the up and up? Did they do that? I mean, like there's plenty that I've been trying to figure out, okay, what is Texas Tech or what is Brendan Sorsby going to argue here? You're admitting to the wrongdoing. This is you broke a rule, but how did we get here? And who knew what, and when did they know it? And why is there no ramifications for those folks? I mean, so there's just a lot going on here, and I just don't know if we have all the full picture of it just yet.
From the football perspective, do you think you're actually going to see him playing quarterback there? Is everyone preparing like, well, it'll be Hammond when his knee is healthy, or the fact that Hammond's still got to rehab the knee? Is everybody talking Kirk Francis? Which of these paths is the most likely going forward, or is it just going to be a jumbled week-by-week thing?
Yeah, I think you'll get – but before fall camp starts, I think you'll have resolution on what the status here is. I mean, I think Texas Tech has secured some of the best counsel that you can get. Jeffrey Kessler, Scott Thomasette, who defended Bill Self when he was, getting raked over the coals about the FBI and the Adidas stuff and all the things. So they're prepared to go the legal route. Again, I just don't know what they are arguing or what will argue, but I don't have all the info. None of us do. And but is Brendan Sorsby, is he wanting to go that route? Is he? Because I mean, part of me, understands that. I'm sure most of these entities don't really want to have, because it's costly. Most don't want to go this route, because everybody gets to, it's show and tell. Everybody gets to find out who knew what and all the things, and that goes for all parties. But Brendan and his camp may go, we just don't want to go through this. Let's just go to the supplemental draft in the NFL. I don't know. So the reality is, on the question that you asked, is that you have to be prepared that he won't play it down for you. But only they kind of have a better feel for, is there a path to reinstate? I mean, we're not even there yet. Like, he hasn't technically been declared ineligible. So you ask about Will Hammond. I think that's late September, early October at the earliest. And so it comes back to Kirk Francis and a young man by the name of Chubb Jones, Lloyd Jones. They call him Chubb, but that was his nickname. That they both went through spring, and those were that was the backup and the third string guy and all that stuff going through spring. And they are built to play really good defense again, and they're built to run the ball. I mean, they've got the best running back tandem coming back from the Big 12, and they've got who would have been the starter last year in Quentin Joyner, who was one of the crown jewels of their portal class a year ago. They got hurt last August, transfer from USC. So they'll have 3 really good running backs, and they upgraded their offensive line and the whole thing. So, but it's a lot to process, guys. I just don't know. I mean, does this alter the Big 12 race? Does it not? I mean, I don't know, but it's just not a good week in Lubbock, that's for sure.
This is a completely hypothetical, so if you don't want to really give it any credence, I can understand. But we saw Hammond come in here in Rice-Eccles and look really good. I was covering that game, and obviously we were all impressed with him in the second half. And just go on the theory that he did not get that knee injury that is going to set him back, and he played, and Morton came back, and so Hammond would have been healthy going into this season. Do you think they still would have recruited Sorsby or a quarterback like him?
No, they would not have. Will Hammond would have been the quarterback. This is a program that I think feels fairly strongly about that particular position and being homegrown, and going to get. I mean, Will Hammond's still going to be the starter here, I think, multiple years. Okay, he's a redshirt sophomore this year, so he's going to have a couple of years after this one. But they would not have gone this route at all. No, had he not, they would have handed him the keys and said, "Let's go do it." They've got another big-time kid committed right now that is set to sign this December, but this is just what they would have believed. Like you got programs like Miami that they just appear that they're just going to go to the portal every year. It's the way they wanted to do things, but like Texas Tech does not, and this is what it leads me to another answer, because people have said, would they go bring in somebody else? Would they go the D2 route? Is there anybody out there that they could go get? Can they get, I don't know, the junior college guy, whatever. I just don't know if they're wanting to trust anybody. This is that they have a firm belief on why they wanted to have homegrown quarterbacks, and that position just comes with some leadership and some responsibility and the whole thing. And I just don't know now if you're wanting to bring another outsider in that you just don't really know. And they felt like they knew Brendan. I mean, nobody knew this. But he clearly had done this activity and knew that he had probably broken rules until, prior to him coming here. So, but by all accounts, he was a great guy and everybody loved him, and he was as advertised, the whole thing. So but Hammond would have been the starter had he not gotten hurt. There's no doubt.
Stories have a way of blowing up, and in the moment they're the biggest thing. But it does seem like with the investment in Texas Tech, there are much bigger plans, and certainly win in the playoffs. That seems to be, if the short term is the quarterback situation, winning playoff games seems to be like a medium-term goal. But is the long-term goal to get Texas Tech in whatever the Power 2, the top shelf of college football looks like, and whatever this next reorganization is coming? And
yes.
And how realistic does that seem to you right now, if that is the goal?
Yeah, that was part of the big picture plan here when the rules changed. I think that, Texas Tech has been through this realignment mess multiple times over the last 15, 20 years. It didn't look good, 4 to 5 years ago. I mean, it was a bit tenuous. There was a heavy investment made on facilities. They've spent somewhere around $300 to $400 million on facilities alone, leading up to the portal era and the NIL era and all these things. And then they made a conscious decision to say, because we want them to do well, one, but two, this is a big picture plan. It's all about football. And at some point, basketball factors in because it's a moneymaker. But that's the front porch of your university. And there is going to be another shakeup, guys. I mean, that's all there is to it. I just don't know. We don't know what that looks like. But when these media rights deals start coming up, there's going to be some sort of movement. There always is. have and a have not? Are there super leagues? Are there? I don't know if we know if there's more realignment coming. Something will happen. It's just constant. And their goal here is to grow enrollment to 50,000. Right now they're at about 41, but they're going to welcome in their largest, freshman class this next fall. I think a lot of that has to do with the football season you had, and there's a direct correlation there. That's just the way it goes. It's the Doug Flutie effect from way back in the day when, Boston College upset Miami, and then all of a sudden the enrollment at Boston College goes up, and that's the way it is for these schools. That you start to see the brand, and it looks like a fun place to be, and all the things, and then you get more people attracted to it. So that's absolutely. I think you nailed it.
I'm wondering what the plan is for the rest of the sports. Basketball, they were pretty good, but obviously they had a big-time injury that got in the way of them achieving what they wanted to do with Top. And then you look at their softball, they're 48-4. And they got to the NCAA final last year, and I understand, that pitcher, Canada, is back, and they added another pitcher who's dominant. But you look at their baseball, and they're 22-22, right? So they're kind of middling. What is the perspective from the likes of Cody Campbell regarding the other sports, not just football?
Well, so Cody's partner, John Sellers, in their oil and gas investments in their companies, is named John Sellers, and his wife played softball here. Well, John has a significant interest in the softball program, so guess what? But there is no really NIL help for baseball here. There's no really rev share. I mean, Tech baseball is still dealing with, this particular year, only 11.7 scholarships, whereas they're going against some Big 12 teams that into the 25, 30, whatever they allowed it to be.
Yeah.
Texas Tech is transitioning into that next year, but there is no NIL, and it shows. I mean, it shows that they have chosen consciously to fund as much as they can football and men's hoops. That's really where it's at. The softball thing is an outlier. And it's going to stay that way simply because of John's interest and his wife's interest, and they will continue to seek outside NIL and the whole thing. So I think as long as John and his wife have an interest in that softball issue, it's going to be a very competitive program. And they went to, you're right, they went to the very final game of the College World Series last year, and could be in line to have a deep run again this year.
Is everything else with Texas Tech football on path, on track? The quarterback issue's obviously just getting all the attention right now, but has everything else been done to put the program in the best possible place to win in the playoff next year? I mean, that's hard to say given what's going on at quarterback, but you still got to have everything on track and then hope this works out.
Yeah, I think the biggest question I think they're going to be just fine in the Big 12. I'll let you guys decide if they're still the favorite or if they're going to be a contender or whatever. But I think they're going to be able to manage their way through the league and be in a position to be in the Big 12. We don't know we don't know the quarterback situation. But they're built. There's really not any other questions on their team. Now there is one at quarterback, but they're built to run it. Their defense, it'll look a little bit different. They won't have the dynamic pass rusher like David Bailey was, but they brought in 6 to 7 D linemen from the portal I saw 2 of them mocked as first-round picks recently for next year. One of their starting cornerbacks was also a potential first-round draft pick, and Bryce Pollock. I think the USA Today has him as a first-round draft pick. So they are. Yeah, they're in good shape, I should say, everywhere else. It's just now, what does it look like? And maybe this is more of a grind. Maybe this is more of a let's just hand it off 40 times a game, and they're built to do that if that's what they want to do, and then let your defense, keep you in it. So at some point, somebody will stack the box, and you're going to have to do some things at quarterback. We just don't know. Again, it's so early. We just don't know what that looks like. I mean, is Sorsby done? When does Hammond come back? All the things, it's just that's a bit of an unknown right now. But they're really not any other questions anywhere else on their roster. And I could go deeper with you and they got a little inexperience at one of the safety spots. I don't know who their third defensive end is going to ultimately be, but those are in the weeds. But other than that, they've addressed everything. They're older, they're deeper, and than they were last year in some spots. So, good question. The problem is whatever happens, even if Hammond comes back healthy, like, is your ceiling lower as it relates to winning the Big 12 championship or doing some damage in the CFP? That's a very fair question, and it absolutely is. I mean, you don't. I mean, Sorsby was a difference maker. That's why they went after him. But I think that there's a limit on how far you could go here.
I'm fascinated by Cody Campbell. We had him on our show, and I love the fact that he talks of trying to overhaul and save college sports, particularly women's sports and the non-revenue sports, and he thinks it's real in a precarious situation. And then at the same time, when they lose to Oregon, well, we're going to double down, and 4 days later they get Sorsby, and the day after they get Sorsby, they put the marquee up in Times Square in New York that he's playing for Texas Tech. So from my perspective, it seems a little incongruent. I'm going to dump all this money in here, but I want to save sports. I'm fascinated by it, and I know you can't really speak to him, speak about him, or speak for him, I should say. But what do you think his line of thinking is? Because he seems so sincere about wanting to save college sports and put it in a good spot. But on the other side, I'm basically going to pump as much money as necessary to get Texas Tech into the title game, basically.
Yeah, I talk to Cody all the time. I mean, I think that the rules are the rules, and as long as that what you're allowed to do, they're going to. And I told you kind of why on the football program part of it, why they're going to. This is a bigger picture thought process. Texas Tech is not going to cut any sports. They're not going to, I think that what Cody's point is look at what Arkansas just did.
Sure.
They just dropped their tennis teams, and like that's,
yeah.
And like you can't tell me that Arkansas can't afford tennis. Of course they can. They just are choosing not to. And so that's what, I think and I get it. He's a controversial figure. It's like, because I think he's very pro Big 12. I think he's very pro football, but he's pro like keeping status quo as far as like all these Olympic sports too. Right. And he's got daughters that compete and stuff. And he's got a son that plays football and all the things. But I think that he would point to the Arkansas situation and see, there's more of this coming, folks, until we get this thing fixed.
Right.
And it's worth mentioning, too, some of this, like from a Texas Tech football standpoint, he's personally overseeing and funding. So it's not on Texas Tech. I mean, he's the one helping financially, so it's not a burden to the university. Like, I know the capital – the deal that the Big 12 announced yesterday, that you can get the private equity funding there. It's a line of credit. And Texas Tech is not going to touch any of that. It's as they will tell you here, it's very expensive money. Like we don't want to do that route. It's not smart. Now, other schools may not have a choice, but so I get where he comes off as like talking out of both sides of his mouth. I certainly get how he could be viewed as controversial. I think you guys have had him on your station, but he's
great interview.
Yeah, and he's very measured. He's very educated in it. He deals directly with people at the NCAA. I mean, all the things. But that's from a Texas Tech standpoint. If this is the rules that everybody's going to play by, then this is what we're going to do here. But you're also not going to see this university, I don't think, cut any sports at all. Like, he will not allow that to happen because he's also the chairman of the Board of Regents here.
Well, Chris, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us and trying to lay this out, even though there's still way more questions than answers. And I think we all need to remember Trinidad Chambliss wasn't even Ole Miss's starting quarterback for the first two games last year, and he ended up looking awesome and taking them deep into the playoffs and won a couple games. So as much as we think we know, we never really know. That's why we love it.
That's right. Well, hey, boys, I appreciate you having me on. Make sure you take care of my man, Jake there. He's good people. So we'll talk next time. Yeah, we'll talk next time and keep hope alive.
All right, there is Chris Level. Coming up next, what is trending? We've got to talk about the UW Mammoth Game 6 tonight. Anaheim has knocked out Edmonton and Atlanta. Quinn Snyder, what were you doing getting down by 50 to the Knicks? All of that's coming up. Stay with us.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
This is Mike Bolo of Lexicon Valley.
And I'm Bob Garfield. Are you one of those people who sometimes uses words?
Do you communicate or acquire information with, language?
Hey, us too. So join us on Lexicon Valley to chew over the history, culture, and many mysteries of English, plus some wisecracks.
Find us on one of those apps where people listen to podcasts.